History of origins. Here you'll find all the rules of the game for wealth, which begins in your mind. Stay tuned so you don't miss a single update. Article 1. The planet that froze overnight. When scientists say Earth once froze solid from pole to pole, it sounds like science fiction, but it happened. Around 650 million years ago, runaway feedback loops turned the planet into a global ice age, a shimmering white marble drifting through space. As global temperatures plunged, the oceans locked into vast sheets of ice, pushing early life to the brink. Yet deep beneath the frozen surface, resilient microbial communities managed to endure. This catastrophic event, known as Snowball Earth, nearly erased life, but also reshaped evolution, setting the stage for complex organisms. How did a frozen Earth trigger the rise of life as we know it? That's the paradox at the center of this incredible story. Snowball Earth, the 10 million year winter. That forged complexity description, from runaway ice to greenhouse rescue, follow the feedback loops that nearly froze the planet and reset evolution. 1. Return to modern Earth from space. We float above a world that feels calm, but its peace is deceptive. Today, we breathe oxygen without thinking, yet this quiet blue planet hides scars of a time when life nearly vanished. Imagine Earth locked beneath a shell of ice, continents frozen, oceans silent. It wasn't a season, it wasn't a century. It was a catastrophe that lasted millions of years, driven by feedback loops we barely understand. As we look down now, question becomes unavoidable. How did a frozen world claw its way back to life? And why did everything change afterward? To grasp it, we must return to the moment when sunlight dimmed, volcanic breaths weakened, and the planet began slipping toward the edge. What forced Earth into its deepest sleep? And what waited beneath the ice, enduring the impossible? This is where the mystery begins, caught between silence and hope quietly ahead. 2. When the sun dimmed and the balance broke. Earth's fall into darkness didn't begin with a catastrophe, but with a slow shift almost too subtle to notice. A drop in sunlight, slight changes in orbital tilt, continents drifting toward the poles, each factor harmless alone, but lethal together. Ice crept across oceans, reflecting more light back into space, trapping the planet in a loop that fed its own collapse. Temperatures plunged, clouds thinned, the atmosphere grew still. This wasn't nature adjusting, it was nature spiraling. As the cooling deepened, tiny life forms fought to survive beneath the freezing surface, clinging to chemical pockets of warmth. The question now turned sharp. Was this descent inevitable, or did Earth simply lose control of its own delicate balance? 3. The runaway freeze. Takes over. Ice didn't just spread, it accelerated. Once the first sheets formed, they turned Earth into a mirror, bouncing sunlight away and forcing temperatures even lower. Oceans that once roared with storms became still, sealed under crystal ceilings stretching from pole to pole. Winds weakened, rain stopped, weather itself seemed to die. Beneath the frozen surface, darkness ruled for thousands of years at a time, and each new layer of ice locked the planet further into its descent. Yet even in this silent tomb, volcanic plumes rose from the deep, releasing gases that had nowhere to escape. Life shrank into hidden refuges, clinging to warmth like a fading spark. And as the freeze tightened its grip, a haunting question formed. How close did Earth come to becoming a permanent white desert? 4. Life retreats into the last safe havens. As the world froze, almost every ecosystem collapsed. Sunlight vanished beneath kilometers of ice, leaving photosynthesis to die in silence. Most life forms simply couldn't adapt, but a few clung to survival in hidden pockets. Volcanic vents, deep fractures, thin cracks where faint light still filtered through. Here, microbes endured temperatures that should have erased them, feeding on minerals and chemical reactions rather than sunlight. These tiny survivors became guardians of Earth's future without knowing it. While continents slept under snow and oceans thickened into glass, these microscopic outposts refused to vanish. Their persistence raises an unsettling thought. If life could endure here, what else might have evolved had the freeze lasted longer? And how close were we to a world where complexity never returned? 5. Volcanoes. Fight back. Beneath the ice, volcanoes did not sleep beneath the frozen shell. While the surface lay locked in silence, magma surged in the depths, releasing carbon dioxide into an atmosphere sealed by ice. With no rain to wash these gases away, they slowly accumulated, building an invisible pressure around the planet. Each eruption added another breath to a world waiting to wake. Over millions of years, this trapped greenhouse veil thickened, turning the frozen globe into a ticking engine of heat. Life in hidden refuges felt the first hints of change as minerals warmed and vents grew more active. But even as the pressure rose, the ice refused to break. The planet waited, holding its breath as tension crawled across every frozen continent. And the question lingered like a shadow. How much gas would it take to shatter the ice and rewrite Earth's destiny forever, pushing life toward a new beginning rising ahead now up? Article 2. The Day Oceans. Turn to ice. Imagine standing on ancient Earth as warm blue oceans suddenly transform into a world of solid ice. Volcanoes fell silent, sunlight bounced off bright white glaciers, and the atmosphere thinned into a brittle haze. This was the Neoproterozoic Snowball Earth, a frozen catastrophe lasting nearly 10 million years. Early microbes had to adapt or perish, surviving in isolated pockets of liquid water trapped beneath the ice. But paradoxically, this brutal freeze sparked a burst of evolution. When volcanic CO2 finally warmed the planet again, the sudden thaw fueled an explosion of oxygen, nutrients, and diversity. Snowball Earth didn't just threaten life, it prepared it for transformation. 6. Key first cracks of a warming world. The breaking point arrives slowly, then all at once. As carbon dioxide thickened the air above the frozen world, heat began to gather beneath the massive ice sheets, spreading like a hidden pulse. Cracks formed, subtle at first, then widening as pressure forced its way upward. Oceans trapped under the frozen ceiling started to churn, warmed by both volcanic energy and the rising greenhouse veil. The planet was no longer sinking into silence. It was loading a spring. When sunlight finally met the changed atmosphere, the balance flipped. The ice began to thin, glow, and fracture. Each break echoed across continents, signaling a world on the verge of awakening. Yet one question pushed through the rising warmth. Would the thaw be gentle, or would it unleash a force powerful enough to reshape every shore forever as dawn returned slowly across Earth today, now rising forward anew soon now on it? 7. The violent thaw reshapes the planet. As the ice finally began to surrender, the world did not warm gently. It erupted. Meltwater carved violent paths across continents, releasing torrents that slammed into ancient valleys with unstoppable force. Oceans rose, cracked, and surged as trapped water burst from beneath the thinning shell. Steam fogged the air, creating chaotic storms unseen for millions of years. The atmosphere, suddenly flooded with heat, spiraled into turbulence as clouds thickened and winds returned. Life hidden in dark refuges felt the shift first. Minerals warmed, currents moved, and long silent chemical cycles awoke. Earth was shaking free of its prison, but the transformation carried danger. What would emerge from this chaos? Renewal or ruin? As the thaw accelerated, the planet's next chapter prepared to ignite with rising energy now ahead, soon rising again, slowly forming new paths, now rising up ahead now. 8. The greenhouse surge turns deadly. As heat kept rising, the atmosphere crossed a dangerous threshold. Carbon dioxide reached levels unseen in Earth's history, trapping sunlight with brutal efficiency. The world swung from endless winter to scorching instability. Winds roared across the melting surface, dragging moisture into the sky and unleashing storms that pounded the newborn oceans. Volcanoes, still active beneath thinning ice, pumped even more gases upward, amplificando chaos. For life that had survived in silence, this sudden heat was both salvation and threat. Some organisms adapted quickly, others vanished in the turbulence. Earth was rewriting itself through extremes, forging conditions no creature had ever faced. And beneath the chaos came a final question. Would this violent warming stabilize the world, or trigger a new, unexpected disaster still hidden ahead? 9. A world reborn. From fire and ice. As the storm settled, Earth began to reveal a new face. The oceans, once trapped beneath frozen ceilings, shimmered under a warmer sky. Minerals released by furious meltwater fed the seas, sparking chemical reactions that transformed barren waters into fertile cradles. Microbial life seized the opportunity, multiplying with a speed unseen since the planet's earliest days. Sunlight returned in full force, igniting photosynthesis and stirring oxygen back into the atmosphere. But this rebirth came with tension. Ecosystems were fragile, continents reshaped, and climate wildly unpredictable. Each moment felt like a gamble between collapse and renewal. Still, life pushed forward, adapting to the chaos with relentless ambition. And from this fragile recovery emerged a profound possibility. Could complexity finally rise from the shadows of Earth's deepest winter? Article 3. How Life Survived the Ultimate Winter. For nearly 10 million years, Earth was a frozen tomb, but life refused to die. Beneath kilometers of ice, tiny microbial ecosystems fed on minerals, geothermal heat, and faint chemical reactions. These resilient forms of early life endured the ultimate test, a planet-wide winter that should have wiped them out. Their survival changed everything. When Earth finally thawed, thanks to volcanic greenhouse gases, they emerged into a world rich in new habitats. This sudden shift triggered the evolution of more complex organisms, ultimately paving the way for animals, ecosystems, and eventually, yes. The story of Snowball Earth is not just about destruction. It's about the incredible resilience that made life unstoppable. 10. The future forged by a frozen past. The Great Thaw had ended, but its consequences were only beginning. As Earth stabilized, new coastlines formed, oceans settled into fresh patterns, and the sky cleared enough for sunlight to guide the planet forward. In these calmer waters, life expanded with bold new strategies, experimenting with shapes, behaviors, and complexity never seen before. The harsh winter had acted like a filter, removing the fragile and strengthening the resilient. Now, evolution accelerated, pushed by opportunity and pressure. The first multicellular forms emerged, tiny yet revolutionary, setting the stage for everything to come. The planet that nearly died was now preparing to flourish. But one question lingers. Did Earth survive by chance? Or was this violent journey necessary to shape the future of life itself as new worlds awaken slowly around us, now rising toward change ahead, now rising on it, now up? If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to History of Origins to stay up to date with the latest news. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss a thing. See you next time.